This is an evening of football sponsored by Santo Blanco. And we got our cocktails here, Santo Blanco, delicious. Thank you to the good people at Santo for making this football season work here on Watch DA Live and the NFL Preview Show. So we're going to start here with the Kansas City Chiefs. Two-time defending world champs, 3 times overall. Dante Hall recently inducted into the Kansas City Chiefs Ring of Honor. So let's hear it here, man.
Thank you, man. Thank you.
Well done, brother.
A stalwart in that organization. You played against Andy Reid teams.
Yes.
Dante Hall played against Andy Reid teams. And forever, Andy was known as a choke artist. He couldn't win the big game, but now it's all different. Do you guys think that Andy Reid changed as a coach, or is it merely the quarterback? Teak, I want to start with you since you played so many games against Andy.
Yeah, it's interesting because he had some good quarterbacks. Donovan McNabb gets not enough credit for how good he was.
Sure.
History, maybe a few decades from now, will judge him differently. But I thought Andy Reid was a pain in the butt. One, because he was just the coach in the rival coach in the division. But he just seemed like bearish, like hard to deal with. And then I went to a Pro Bowl and he was the coach. And I loved the dude. After I met him and actually spent some time with him, I could see why he was so successful, because he's a player's coach despite being a hard ass. And so am I surprised that he's had the success that he's had? Absolutely not. Does it help when you have a Hall of Fame quarterback who you know is a Hall of Fame quarterback after his second year? 100%. So I'm not knocking Donovan, but Pat Mahomes is one of a kind. And when you have that guy, it gives you that little extra X factor. Sorry, steal your thing.
Pun intended.
Right. It gives you that little edge that gets you over the top. Because it's not like they dominate everybody in Super Bowls or in the postseason. They just know how to win. And a great quarterback will give you that edge. And I think that's the difference with Andy Reid. He and the general manager, I'm forgetting the general manager's name.
Brett
Veach. Identified that X factor in Pat Mahomes and went and got him.
Tay, what's your take on Andy Reid's evolution?
I absolutely agree with him. When you look at Andy's track record, he's always been a winner. He's always put himself in position. I mean, in Philly, he went to 4 straight NFC championships games. So that tells me right there that he has the blueprint for winning and putting your team right there on the verge of winning it all. So I agree with Tiki. Right. No knock on Donovan. Love Donovan.
Right, and there's a reason he's with the 6 straight AFC champions.
Exactly.
Yeah,
so
right.
he's going to put you in position.
Yes.
Do you have that guy that puts you over the hump? And Pat Mahomes is that guy that has definitely taken him over the hump and given, I believe, Andy Reid his just due as one of the all-time great head coaches.
Kat, have you done any sit-downs with either Reid or Mahomes?
It's been a while. No, but I would say that you look at their team, and there's some big personalities on their team, and I don't think it's an easy thing to manage a Travis Kelce, a Patrick Mahomes. That's not a negative light on them, but you have some guys that command the ball, that command attention. Right. I think the way that he navigates some of those situations also gets lost.
Right, it's interesting you say that, because think about last year for the Kansas City Chiefs. Obviously, it culminated in the Super Bowl championship, but, I mean, Taylor Swift was like part of the story.
Sure. Big part of the story. Big part of the story.
Handling that.
It changed everything around that organization. How he moved, how we moved, it changed everything.
You are under the microscope, not just the sports microscope,
That's
but
right.
like the world microscope because of Taylor Swift. Yeah. And it didn't affect him.
Didn't affect him at all.
So on that point, we had the Chiefs running that pirouette play last year. This year, they're doing behind-the-back passes. And I was struck by this because we're listening to the Steelers deal with the quarterback situation and whether the Eagles need a new head coach and the 49ers, what can they do after losing a Super Bowl? And here are the Chiefs playing football as though it's kind of a joke. It's so easy. And I'm wondering, have the Chiefs perfected football so dramatically that they can take things this lightly?
No, I think what it is, football is easy. It's a kid's game. You know what I mean?
You're the first person to ever I heard say that, but okay, carry on, carry on.
I'm talking about like the core of it. It's a kid's game. Like the schemes and all that stuff is very complicated. Like even return schemes are complicated. But it's a kid's game. So if you don't let players have fun, it becomes work. You know what I mean?
I know exactly what you mean.
And that's the last thing you want. You want kids. They're all kids to me because I'm almost 50. You want players to feel like they're playing the same game that they played when they were 12 years old and they meant nothing. And I think that's kind of what Kansas City feels like to me. It's, if you have an idea, let us know. Right? If you want to do something a certain way, let us know. We'll make it work. So you feel like you have ownership. And it's hard to do that when you're a coach because sometimes you feel vulnerable when you give players agency. And I think Andy Reid does that. And it helps them be loose all the time.
I think he does that too because if you look at Patrick Mahomes, the big guns, right? Travis Kelce, Patrick Mahomes, Chris Jones, those guys work.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
So when you work.
Right. By the way, you're not going to pay them if they don't work.
Exactly. And you're not going to give them that freedom you're talking about if they're not working on all the basics and fundamentals and all that. So I think Andy Reid is a fair coach. I don't know how Coughlin was or Foster was for you, but Dick Vermeil was that way. Mm-hmm. You work hard, he'll give you a little leeway. Yeah. And I think I see the same thing in Andy Reid. Like, these guys are working during the offseason, off the field. They're taking care of their business off the field. So therefore, when it comes to pirouette plays and behind the back passes and all the extracurricular, it's okay because 99% of the time, we're also getting that core hard work from those guys.
You remember Patrick Ewing, who was a head coach at Georgetown? Yeah. And one of his players took like some stupid shot, and they just happened to be in the huddle. You remember this, right? And he's like, I forget what the player's name was. He's like, do you practice that? What kind of shot is that? Do you practice that? And clearly he didn't. But how many times have you seen Travis Kelce catch a hook or a curl or something and be like,
look for the lateral? Yeah.
He practices it.
Exactly. And that behind the back pass we saw, I'm sure you guys all saw it. You saw it all week.
5 times in practice.
Exactly. There you go.
They practice it.
Yes.
So they practice fun, which is awesome.
It's like golf. You never should do a shot
that you haven't practiced before. That's right.
Same principle.
Yeah, I don't listen to that principle. It makes a lot of sense on paper.
So everyone's chasing the Kansas City Chiefs, and Jets fans are desperate to have a winner here. So I want to ask you guys, what is more likely? The Jets make the AFC Championship game or the Jets miss the playoffs?
Ooh.
Dante?
I'm going to say, and we're considering all things equal, everyone is healthy.
Correct.
We don't lose Rodgers 3 plays in.
Let's say health is not a factor.
AFC Championship. I don't see them missing the playoffs if that guy's healthy. They have the defense. They have the tools around him. I love the coaching staff. I think it's more likely they make the AFC Championship game versus missing the playoffs.
You love the coaching staff. You love Robert Saleh.
I love Robert Saleh. Yeah,
Tell
I think
me
he's
why.
legit. I mean, just look at his track record. I always like to look at guys like, for instance, we talk about Andy Reid in Philly and KC. He was successful in Green Bay as well. Coach Saleh, look at the success he had in San Francisco. So his track record tells me he's a hell of a coach. So at some point, in this day and age, you just need a quarterback to go along with that. He's at a top, 5 defense since he's been with the Jets. I'm not worried about Saleh and that staff. It's all about that quarterback for me.
Okay, Teak?
I'm going to agree. I'm very biased here because Nate Hackett's one of my great friends. You talk about loving the coaching staff. I love Nate. He had great success in Jacksonville. I mean, they went to the AFC Championship game with Blake Bortles.
Should have won that AFC Championship game.
Aaron Rodgers had 2 MVPs with Nate Hackett. Now, I know he gets crapped on a lot, but he's one of the smartest, you know this, and unique people you've ever met. He's a great, like, mind. He's also a dancer, right? Like, he dances.
What kind of dance? Are we talking twerking or are we talking
No, like.
Used to teach hip-hop dancing.
What? I did not know that.
I swear to you.
I didn't know that.
I swear to you. So he is cool as hell. And you can relate to him. He was handed a horrible hand last year. Let me restate that. He was handed a horrible hand the last 2 years. Yes. He didn't want Russell Wilson necessarily.
They thought they were going to get Aaron.
Right. But even without Aaron, the ownership wanted Russell Wilson. So they got Russell Wilson. Russell wasn't the guy. And so he gets fired after a year. He comes here, got Aaron Rodgers, like we wanted in Seattle. He gets hurt, and you got Zach Wilson, who just struggles. And he just gets his bad rap, but he's a great mind. He really is. So I love the coaching staff as well. Jeff Ulbrich is fantastic. Fantastic. Doesn't get enough accolades for what he's been able to do with that Jet defense. So I agree with you. They are more likely to make the AFC Championship than miss the playoffs. The only way they miss the playoffs is if
Major injuries.
people get hurt.
Yep.
Tat, you agree?
Yeah, I think assuming they're going to stay healthy is a big if, right? I
And that's the problem, because you got a 40-year-old quarterback.
yeah, that's a big if. Now, if you say, yeah, they're going to be healthy, I'm with you, because I don't think there's a dominant team in the AFC. I think the Chiefs are the favorite, but I just think the landscape of the AFC, there's not like, okay, that team has got to go out and win it.
Other than Kansas City.
Yeah, but I don't think they're a dominant favorite. I
Right.
wouldn't say.
Right.
So, yes, I agree with you guys that if the Jets are healthy, they have a better chance to be in the championship game than to be out
Yeah,
of the
but
playoffs.
you're right, Andrew. It is challenging. I'm thinking about the teams in the AFC right now. So
But you just have to win your division. So, I don't know what you guys were taught. We always went into it, win your division. That's an automatic bid into the playoffs. So my foundation of what I said was based on, I think they're going to win the division.
But if you win the division, you now have to have the best record. Don't have to play 2 games to get to the championship game. But that's going to be hard because Baltimore is going to be their division's tough. So Baltimore probably won't have the number 1 seed because Pittsburgh is Pittsburgh. They never have losing seasons. Cincinnati is fantastic.
gonna be legit
Cleveland
this
should be legit. They have the top 1 or 2 defense in the National Football League. So you have to get the number 1 seed if you're the Jets to only play 2. Are they? That's the question. And so is the AFC West challenging enough to knock Pat Mahomes off of that pedestal?
Has this Cinto kicked in already? You got to win your division first. You're like way ahead, number 1 seeds and all of that. Like, we just got to win your division and you'll make the
No, but I'm thinking about the Jets being able to get to the AFC Championship game. They have to not only win the division, they need to be the number 1 seed. Because the last thing you want to do is get to the playoffs and have to go to Kansas City.
So you don't trust Rodgers on the road AFC Championship game at Arrowhead?
I mean, you saw what they did to Tua.
Man, I don't trust him. I'm saying you don't trust him either, though. I don't think the Jets can go to Arrowhead and win. No way.
So they need the 1 seed. And so
I think it's more likely they miss the playoffs.
come on.
I do.
Now there are a lot of teams. Cincinnati's good, obviously.
Well, look at the AFC.
Houston.
I mean,
Houston.
I think there's 3 playoff teams in the AFC North potentially: Ravens, Browns, Bengals. I like the Bengals a lot. Now you take the Chiefs out of the AFC West. I think the Chargers will be very good actually this year, assuming Herbert's healthy. Yeah. Now you look at the AFC East. If only one team comes out of there, Bills, Dolphins, Jets are all kind of the same team. So now I'm supposed to believe that the Jets not only get through all of that, but they win 2 or 3 AFC playoff games? That's a big leap for me.
That's why it's hard. But
That's
I don't
leap.
think they're missing the playoffs.
But if you get Miami and New York, Miami's losing. They're 0-11 when the temperature is sub 40.
Yeah.
They can't win if it's 40 below. It's going to
The
be.
Dolphins win a playoff game is also a bad bet.
Exactly. So, are you betting on Tua or Aaron Rodgers?
Well, in that matchup, it depends where that game is, and I would probably bet on the Jets to be able to win that game, actually, no matter where it is.
Exactly.
But the Jets in Baltimore, the Jets in Kansas City, the Jets in Buffalo, I don't buy the Jets win any of those playoff games.
Okay,
The Jets in Cincinnati,
Okay, all of those questions. Who's a better quarterback?
doesn't just come down to that.
I mean, but it kind of does.
No, but Robert Saleh's unproven as a head coach, and Aaron Rodgers has had, unfortunately, guys know you guys love Aaron Rodgers, a lot of playoff flameouts recently.
A lot of flameouts.
There's 2 NFC championship games where he was terrible in. There's an NFC divisional game that he was terrible in the last 4 playoffs that he's been in. So the recent track record of Aaron Rodgers is not great in January.
See, this is why WFAN is so amazing. Because we have this to talk about all season long.
know. Over to the NFC. This is Mike McCarthy coaching the Dallas Cowboys in 2025.
No. No, he does not.
So this is it.
Why you think about it? I say yes because I say no because I'm just looking at the turmoil. I've never seen a team with this much turmoil as far as contracts, uncertainty, going into a season that became a winner. That's number 1. Number 2, I don't believe in that. You talk about Aaron Rodgers and his flameouts. Let's look at Dak Prescott and his flameouts. So you take those 2 things, and I'm just seeing this team, again, flaming out again, and therefore Mike McCarthy will be out as well as Dak.
Yeah, if they flame out, Mike McCarthy's gone.
They're going to flame out.
We'll know in week 4 when they play the New York Giants.
How do you keep going 12-5, Teak, and keep losing in the playoffs? Every year they have 12 wins. They can't win in the postseason.
Because the second season is different.
Yes,
It's
thank
just-
you.
It's not just we have the best roster. It's specific to the game plan. It's specific to I know how to beat my opponent. We're just gonna, like the old school, like in college, you know this. We're just gonna do what we do.
Yes.
And we're gonna win
No.
because we're better. It doesn't work in the NFL. And I feel like the Cowboys get into that situation every single year. We're just gonna do what we do. And then they get beat because they don't adjust. And Dante brings up an important issue here. There's a lot of disgruntled players on that team. And Dak is probably the most important one because he's the quarterback. And he's going into an uncertainty. Like they could literally just get rid of him next year after the season's over. And it's disconcerting. Usually when you have a quarterback and you know he's your guy, you just pay him, man. Just pay him. Give him $60 million, which is crazy to say, but give him $60 million. They're not doing it. He's
And they're
talking
not
about,
doing it
he's
because
talking
they don't
about,
believe in him.
right, and he's talking about CeeDee Lamb. Yeah, we don't have any pressure, to sign. Oh, what? It's like eight of
one-
it's
the
like
one guy you should
right,
have any.
It's like 8 of those guys in the league, and you don't want to sign them. Like so, and then you got Micah Parsons who's just doing all kinds of other stuff.
As well as a head coach.
As well as it's just, is he going to be the coach in 2025?
What do you think, Andrew? What do you think?
I'm going to say no. But it's just hard.
Hey, that's hard for you to say that.
It is, but I think I gotta say no. I think there's just a lot of noise.
To me, how does Jerry Jones define a successful season at this point in his life? To me, he's turning into the George Steinbrenner Yankees,
Yeah.
where it's win or bust.
But who is it? Like if they move off, the reason I say like I'm in the maybe phase is because if they get rid of Mike McCarthy, who are they getting?
It's Bill Belichick.
At 74?
Yeah, it is. Because
Got that young girlfriend? Ooh, he ain't be all right. He got that young girlfriend. That
Makes you younger.
That makes you younger. Bill Belichick, I like that, Andrew.
Can we say, though, that Jerry Jones really wants to win, or does he just surround himself with coaches that he can push around?
I think Jerry Jones wants to win. I think that, yes, that's a part of it, and obviously he wants to control some of it, but I think at this stage in his ownership, it's about winning a Super Bowl.
Why would he bring back Mike McCarthy if he was really about
Well,
winning?
I think that's what Dante's saying. That might be why he doesn't. Because
Why would he have brought him back this year? There was another flame out.
because he's so close. I mean, you win the division. Nobody thought they were winning the division. They win the division. They get 12 wins or 12-5, right? They're in the postseason. Now they fall short, as always, but they're like so close
All right, so you think Jerry believes in Mike McCarthy for the moment?
for the moment because there's not a good alternative.
Dante's like, no.
I think Jerry wants to win, but he wants to win and be the reason they win. Because if he was all about winning, he would have never got rid of, what's my guy from Miami?
Jimmy Johnson.
Jimmy Johnson. He would have never got rid of Bill, what's my other, Bill Parcells. He would have never got rid of all these proven, legit, winning coaches. But for 30 years, we've seen a track record. Yes, he wants to win, no doubt. He said that it's the most important thing he wants to do. But he wants to win, and he be the reason why.
I also think he's smart enough, and you guys can speak to this better than anybody, to know that if you change coaches and you have a whole new offensive system that's put in, that's setting you back.
Yes, that's true.
And I feel like you have some continuity on offense with Dak and with CD, you would think.
That's why he didn't change it this year.
That's what I think.
But
I'll give you that.
now that you say this, now that makes sense why there is a tie. We're not paying Dak yet because we're not committed to Mike McCarthy. Or the other way around. We're not committed to Mike McCarthy, so we're not paying Dak yet. Whichever one first, chicken or egg. It's like the egg is first, right? The egg comes first.
I
by
think
the
the
way.
chicken comes first, but okay.
No,
We could do a half hour on this.
no. I'll
done nature and
I'll solve this in a second. The egg came first, but it wasn't laid by a chicken.
Solved.
Evolution. It's
Gone
evolution.
back to the dawn of time, the Big Bang with Tiki Barber. Him and Neil
Every
deGrasse
week I
Tyson.
get this stuff with him on the road. Every week.
Hook a brother up, bro.
Yeah. I'm about to switch over to neat too.
All right, out of these three coaches that are not coaching this year, who's the most likely to coach next year? Belichick, Carroll, Vrabel. Cat?
Belichick. I think Vrabel will probably coach as well. I do not think Pete Carroll will coach again. But I think Belichick's going to get a job next year. All this media stuff he's doing is to stay around the game. And a guy like Jerry Jones,
Right.
someone.
I think you're right about Carroll.
Yeah, I think he's done.
I think he's done. I'm going to say Vrabel. Being in studio is nice.
You think Belichick's going to get used to it?
And he's 73, doesn't have to travel as much, doesn't have to work as hard, sleepless nights. Like,
That's not how he's wired, though.
I know it's
Bam.
not.
I was letting
Okay,
him finish.
okay,
but
bro, it's not how he's wired until he is. So we'll see. The dude has, what was he making? $9 million a year for like a decade, right? So he's got more money than he ever needs. So it's not about money. So it's about
winning.
It's about winning. It's about, he's the winningest head coach, one of the winningest of all time.
He wants that record. That record with that Don Shula has, that's what he wants.
But he's Hall of Fame. Like, what accolade
He
is he
wants
not going
that
to have?
record. That's the reason, I think.
I think he wants that record, and he just wants to coach. He's not done, which is why he was still interviewing for jobs this year. Now, I agree with you. I think it'll be Vrabel for this reason. It seems like the league, other than, your Andy Reids and coaches like that, is going towards younger coaches.
No doubt.
So I say Vrabel for that reason, but I think Bill Belichick still wants to coach. You get fired, and then you're interviewing. He wasn't trying to take a year off, 2 years, go in the studio and be comfortable. He was looking and seeking for a job again. So I think he still wants to coach, but I like Vrabel simply because it seems like the league is going younger with their hire.
He's also a great coach. I think the world of Mike Vrabel. I think he's a really good coach, and he'll
look
get
at the
back in.
quarterbacks he's had. Tannehill's from A&M, get him, but
And he's notoriously horrible in production meetings. He's actually pretty good to us.
No, he's my guy.
Mike Vrabel?
I like
Yes,
Mike Vrabel.
he's notoriously impossible.
Not with us.
But with us, he's been great, and
Yeah.
that's because of Andrew.
Nah, about that.
I wonder about the Belichick thing because you had 7 or 8 openings this offseason, and they hired guys that had no coaching
Dave
experience.
Canales, right?
Dave Canales has 1 year as a coordinator
Right.
experience.
But he fixed quarterbacks.
Fair.
In theory, even though I think it was more Waldron for Gino than it was Canales,
boy,
but whatever. He
even
was
in
a quarterback.
Atlanta, Raheem Morris, who's a very bright guy, does not have a track record of success as a head coach.
But
He
there's a
gets
history
it.
there.
True.
So it's like the nuance of why Raheem got hired. And look, I've known him forever. He was Rondé's coach when he was 34 years old, 32 years old actually.
Yes.
Rondé was older than him, playing for him, which was crazy. It was more relationship.
we can take maybe Atlanta out of that,
Yeah,
although
yeah.
Belichick seemed to be.
But I don't know if Belichick interviewed with a lot of teams.
He didn't. But my question is, why wouldn't other teams say, you got to interview with us? He's the winningest coach of all time. He's got 6 Super Bowl championships as a head coach.
Because you're
and there's
terrified.
7 openings
I'll
that
tell you,
nobody
DA,
says
it's
yes.
because you're terrified that he wants control.
there you go.
So then what would get him hired next year?
The right situation where he can control a lot of the roster.
But why would a team say yes to control next year if they said no to control?
Well, maybe they're getting rid of their general manager. You know, the teams that he had talked to already had kind of a structure in place. Next year, maybe someone's going to make a clean slate, and he's the guy to start their clean slate with.
Yeah, because it felt like Atlanta from jump.
was
And
kind of
we
the only
know
one he was really in on.
we only know that because of Matt. Matt was because we did the last game, and he was talking to the people that be down there, and Matt was like, yeah, that they like Belichick, and so I think it was the only one that he looked at because they really felt hot to trot for him. When instead he should have spread. But it's hard for a guy who's as accomplished as he is to like go take I'll do an interview with you and let's come and tell you about philosophy. Like, it's hard for Belichick to do that. It's easy for like Dave Canales to do that. It's easy for
That's
Raheem
fair.
Morris to do that. It's easy for, you know, some of these other young head coaches or coaches that are just brand new as head coaches to go, I don't say like pander, tell the story.
Play the game.
Bill Belichick's like, dude, you know me.
You got to play the game.
I haven't been hiding for 20 years. You know me.
But man, Washington goes with Dan Quinn. I mean, wouldn't Belichick have been way better of an option than Dan Quinn?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
I don't understand that one.
But I think Washington, just to talk about them specifically, had their eyes set squarely on Ben from Detroit.
Ben Johnson.
Ben Johnson from Detroit. And Ben kind of snatched that rug right out from under him. I'm good, I'm staying.
Could it also be, we saw what Tom Brady did once he left, immediately won a Super Bowl, and we saw the struggles that Bill Belichick had.
Oh, I think so.
So maybe owners are like, it was all about
They also
Tom,
didn't have a
and it
quarterback.
wasn't so much
They also didn't have a
Bill.
quarterback.
So that's the rationale, but I think perception, Dante's absolutely
The
on it.
perception is 100%. But the reality is, and you know this because you've been in locker rooms, if you don't have like commitment at that spot, I don't care how good you are as a coach, you're not winning. Period.
But didn't Belichick choose that quarterback?
Yeah, he did.
He did. He did. And he chose that roster.
Chose
and
that
he had
roster.
multiple bad drafts and multiple bad free agency. And you can't say anything but that's your team.
Let me defend Bill Belichick here. So for most of his drafting history, it's been actually not great. But he hasn't had to be great. He's had to pick specific interchangeable parts to throw into a roster that's already kind of made. So he hasn't had to draft to be successful. Think how many teams have to draft to be successful. You know, it's like
That's a good way to put it.
the Patriots haven't had to do that for 2 decades. And then like that, they had to. And it's just hard. It's just really hard to draft.
Lamar Jackson's one of the most exciting players in the league. But
My favorite player in the league.
Really?
Yeah. You know what?
Not Christian McCaffrey, not a running back, a quarterback.
I mean, he is kind of a running back too, right?
Good point.
Only because we had their game last year. Week 1, right?
Yeah.
Wasn't it week 1?
Week 2 against
Week 2,
Cincinnati.
yeah, week 2 with Baltimore Ravens. And Lamar said to me, I read you in your brother's books when I was a kid. I was like, I love this dude.
By the way, I would say 50% of the people that we speak to say that about
Yes.
Tiki
Really?
Barber.
Wow.
It's
It's
this
really
weird,
impressive, yeah.
it's this weird spot I'm in as an analyst now, because I'm 50, but when I was 20-something, so think of half my age.
Yeah.
These kids are 20-something.
perfect age group right
They were
there.
reading my books
Yeah.
when they were kids.
Cool.
It's just kind
He
of.
hit you with he hit you in a soft spot.
It does. It makes me feel old as hell too, though.
But I also appreciate it, which is
Right.
why he's your favorite player.
like you.
I get it.
But does Lamar have a big game problem?
Yes. He's not my favorite player, but he's my second favorite quarterback. I love Lamar. I want to see him be successful. So it pains me and hurts me to have to just keep it a buck, keep it real, be honest, be brutally honest. I'm just a person that I'm like, what's the Maya Angelou quote? When a person shows you who they are, believe them. That's just what I go by. I strip away all the sentimental feelings and all of that, and I just look at, I've seen you in big games. You haven't come up big in big games. Simple as that. So you look at a guy like Tom Brady, right? And this is another thing that I do. I look at like a Tom Brady, Patrick Mahomes, LeBron James, any athlete. For the most part, they show you exactly who they are from the jump. I've never seen a guy figure it out in big games 7, 8 years into their career. They either have that big game clutch gene right away or they don't.
Yeah, but hold on.
Name me one person that has figured out 2 years out.
Think about, you could say the same thing about your guy, Josh Allen. Josh Allen can't figure it out in a big game. No, Josh Allen just faces Pat Mahomes in big games. And so last year, Lamar Jackson, he faced Pat Mahomes in a big game. Like, Lamar is a 2-time MVP already. What is he, 26 years old, 27 years old?
Now watch this. Tom Brady also faced Pat Mahomes twice and beat him twice.
Yeah, but he was superior.
I couldn't
He was
believe it.
superior. Like, he was the.
That's what I'm saying, because he has that big game plus gene. We're going to figure out it's 3rd and 10. In overtime, we're going to make a play. We're going to figure it out.
I think.
I can't tell with Lamar Jackson.
I don't want to get too inside football because it becomes mind-numbing. But his offensive coordinator for the first 4 years of his career was Greg Roman. Now, Greg Roman's a good coordinator. He was, 4 yards away from having a Super Bowl winning, Super Bowl MVP quarterback in Colin Kaepernick. He called the wrong 3 plays on the goal line.
Crabtree, going to Crabtree.
Crabtree. How about you turn around and hand it off, or you put it in your quarterback's hands? I'm just saying, right? Right. And so he was Lamar's coordinator, and at some point, it just got limited what he could do to advance the development of Lamar Jackson, which is why they fired him, and which is why they brought in Todd Monken. Now, Todd Monken's a college mostly successful quarterback at Georgia, multiple national championships, et cetera, et cetera. He started doing stuff last year, and we only realized this because we called that game in week 2, that challenged Lamar to grow as a passer, to not just, all right, one read, maybe a half a read and then gone. It was read it, like do it. Because in college, he did that. At Louisville, he did that. Like he threw the ball downfield at Louisville. He wasn't asked to do that a lot under Greg Roman's system. Todd Monken is changing Lamar as a quarterback, evolving him as a quarterback. And we only have 1 year of that. So year 2 of that is exciting. And from a selfish standpoint, I can't wait for week 2 of NFL season because we have the Ravens. And it's going to be really interesting to talk to Lamar and see that next step. So I like Lamar. I'm biased, obviously, as I told you before. But I think there's still more that needs to be brought out of him that we haven't seen yet.
Can we get an unbiased opinion? What do you think, Andrew?
Well, so early in our football evening, we were talking about Dallas, and you said, hey, sometimes stuff happens in the second season. It's a little different.
Right.
To me, that's how I view Lamar. I think he's a great player, a great quarterback. It hasn't always bounced his way in the playoffs. I'm not going to label him a bad big game player. Right. I just think the jury is still out.
Right. Jury's still
the situation will tell you that you're right. Right? If you just look at it, it tells you you're absolutely right.
You know how bad I want to be wrong? I want to be wrong, but what is this, year 8 for Lamar?
Yeah. No.
Probably
6. 6, I think.
6? Wow.
Maybe 7. 6 or 7.
Anyway, enough.
Right. Was he before Daniel Jones?
It's
or
18
after?
or 19, I think.
No, so I think it's 7.
Okay.
Yeah.
You're right.
Okay, you're 7.
But he's had enough opportunities, I feel like, to overcome, and that's what great players do. They overcome subpar coaching. They overcome
No,
that.
you're right.
Look at Tom Brady. That's what we find out.
Yeah.
Don't forget.
That's lost to the Chiefs.
Don't
last year.
forget. It's the Chiefs.
That's a pretty good team. They
But I
lost
look
to
at
last year.
okay, you can say Pat Mahomes, you can say the Chiefs. I give you that,
Right.
but you also have to give me this. Patrick Mahomes has nothing to do with you throwing a ball into triple coverage on the goal line.
You're right. Fair. You're right.
Has nothing to do with it.
You're right.
Yeah, Mahomes was not great in that game.
No, you're
really
right.
good first half. Second half, the Chiefs offense
You know,
shut
Dante's
down.
right. Like in that moment,
It's moments, and you know, for quarterback, it's moments in that second
there's
season.
a moment in every game where you're going to get a shot to be the difference. If you're one of the players that matters playmaking wise, you're going to get a moment to make the play, and he hasn't done it yet. To your point, you're right about that.
You guys are high on the Browns, but Deshaun Watson is this incredible enigma. We don't know if he's ever going to get back to Houston Texans. Deshaun Watson.
I know he's paid.
He's paid real well. And I wonder if everything that happened in Houston that he carried over to the Cleveland Browns stripped him of a little bit of that Superman thing that you kind of need to be great. You guys are humble guys, but when you were on the field, you both had a Superman quality. There was I'm going to be great right now. And I feel like Deshaun Watson has shrunk from being the I'm here guy in Houston. Can he get back to that?
Yeah, but the only way he's going to do it is by play.
There you go.
Right. So much of we all go through bad shit off the field. It just happens.
His stuff was really bad shit.
But it honestly doesn't matter. We all go through it. The way you erase it from people's mindset is being a baller.
100%.
Is being a stone cold baller. Forget all that other stuff. Maybe people will say it in passing that are haters, but be a baller, and that can lead you. He hasn't yet done that. Part of it's because of injuries. Yep. But
I think it's a big part of it.
It's a big part of it.
It is a big. But the reason I'm I'm high on the Browns, is their defense is out of control.
Everything but the quarterback seems to be really good.
Yes,
I mean, elite
and if
from
Nick
a
Chubb comes
roster
back off the
standpoint.
ACL, which that dude is a freak. His thighs are bigger than yours.
Together.
Yes. What was he squatting, like 600 pounds, 700 pounds, some video I saw? Like, the dude is sick.
But to your point, I think with Deshaun, until he can have a full season or two under his belt, and can really get his bearings back, because you only become really, really good at football by playing football.
Right.
So he was out a year, he was injured. I don't care who you are.
out 2 years.
He was out 2 years. Oh my God, yeah. So I feel like if he can come back, have a full season under his belt, get into the playoffs, I think we'll see the superheroics that he did in Houston.
A good play caller. Kevin Stefanski's a
good coach.
Good coach,
really,
right?
really good coach. Now they lose Alex Van Pelt to go be the OC at Buffalo, at New England. He's never called plays before up there, so we'll see how that plays out for the Patriots. But he's got a great head coach. It's just about being healthy and getting that mojo back for him. Because there was a point in Houston where it was like, I don't care what y'all doing, I'm going to be successful.
That's right.
And we haven't seen that in a couple of years.
That's right.
It's also a brutal division.
Yeah, that's a
To
great
me, it's
point.
the toughest division in football.
There's no doubt about it.
I mean, you said before, you could see 3 teams making the playoffs from that division. That's a tough division.
The Lions are one of the most fascinating teams in the NFL.
That's my dude. How is it? How bad is it? How crazy is this? All these guys I played with, Dan Campbell.
That's my guy. I played with him at Texas
Right.
A&M, one of my favorites.
Both you guys are Dan Campbell team.
Oh, yeah.
Dan Campbell was the man.
The man.
He used to tell me stories about Texas A&M.
Yeah, man. I got some stories, too.
We'll save those for off the air. But Dan Campbell's the head coach. Antonio Pierce is the head coach.
That's right.
Like
All your
our
peers.
peers are head coaches in the NFL. I'm like, damn, what did we do wrong?
Nah, you don't want that.
Hey, you're with me. What's wrong with that?
You know what I'm saying?
But no, Dan Campbell, I'm not shocked by his success at all.
Yeah.
He was a leader amongst men, even way back in college, being a second string, not a fast tight end, not the guy. He was never the guy, but was always the guy as far as leadership, his practice habits.
What's
the
his
way,
it factor?
His it factor is some people just have a personality, you either have it or you don't, that galvanizes the team.
You saw it in his first press conference.
There you go.
Biting kneecaps.
But that works.
Yes.
It works
Okay,
when
tell me
When
why.
it works when it's authentic.
There you go.
It's him. You can't fake it. Like sometimes coaches come in and they just want to fake a aura, fake a personality, fake something because they think that's what they're supposed to do. And it just doesn't work. Like Mike
As
McDaniel.
players, we can read and call bullshit like that. Easy.
You guys have the BS detector higher
Oh,
than
it's
anybody
high. We
else.
got-
So the perfect example is Mike McDaniel down in Miami. Like I know he is intentionally
Quirky.
quirky, right? He's not abrasive, but like just like he rubs you like oddly in Miami. But that's who he is, and his team loves him because primarily he's authentic and he's putting them in the best position to win. Like the comments that Tua said regarding the previous regime versus this regime that just came out, where he basically said, imagine going to work every day and a guy saying, you suck, you don't belong here, like, you're not good enough, versus, man, you're perfect for what we do. Man, you're awesome. Like, all right, this is what we're going to do because I know you do this really well. Like this positive reinforcement for quarterbacks matters so much because as soon as you start leading with negative reinforcement and sowing doubt into the back of their minds, as soon as they have one bad thing, all that gets reinforced and comes forward and you start saying things like Tua was saying, do I belong in the league? Do I suck? Like if you have a player saying, do I suck?
At that position?
Because you hear it from the media and social media and fans all the time. So you don't want to hear from your boss as well.
So what Dan Campbell does is say, I fucking love you guys. You guys are the best thing that have ever happened to this organization, that have ever happened to me. And we're gonna go fight. And if you fall down, we're gonna fucking grab around and pick your ass up. And like he does that. And that's how he is. That's how he played. Right? To Dante's point, like Shockey was the man when he was in New York, meaning Dan was in New York. But Dan was invaluable.
Because Dan Campbell was Jeremy Shockey's backup.
That's the
Blocking
same
tight
thing in college.
But Dan was invaluable
Really?
to what we were doing because
The way he came to work every day.
we
Off the field.
required blocking. We were a run-first offense, like in those eras. That was the Sean Payton offense. It was you got to get dirty, man. I need you to block a D tackle because the guard's pulling because we're running this mixed direction shit with Tiki. You need to block the D tackle. And Dan Campbell was like, all right, let's go. Bow up, I'm gonna go get that guy who outweighs me by 50 pounds. And he would do it, right? And that's how he coaches. So I am not surprised at all by his success.
Yeah, and also, like, I think people forget he took over a terrible Miami team and was an interim head coach. He learned, and they won when he was there. And then he went to coach for Sean Payton and learned from Sean Payton, who you know very well. It's not like he's just this guy that was thrown into Detroit and he's like, let's go. He's learned and has had real world experience on the job.
And everything we're saying, all of those coaches recognize that in him, which is why he ascended.
Yeah, we see all of that stuff that I was talking about. What Andrew's talking about is like the real coaching side of it.
So you guys are believers then in the Lions
a
that
100%
last year
believer.
was not a blip. It was not a moment
And I
in
think
time.
Jared Goff he's fascinating because I thought he was limited until he went to Detroit.
You guys do not think last year was a blip on the radar. You guys think the Lions are good to go.
Yeah,
I
absolutely.
do. I think they got tons of talent. I called Jahmyr Gibbs multiple times in college before I was doing full 18-game schedule with Andrew and CBS. I did a bunch of college games, and I'm mostly at Alabama. And that kid is difference maker, slasher, but tough as hell. It kind of reminds me of how I used to run. Like I wanted to always cut across you, right? Set you up to think and then just go across your face and your arm tackling me. But he's tough, so you can run him between the tackles as well. But it's to me, it's more like all of those playmakers. Jared Goff has like felt the challenge that was given to him by Sean McVay. And I think, honestly, his personality is different than, say, Matt Stafford's personality, whereas Matt Stafford and Sean McVay can have this like back and forth, like not arguments, but like no, that's not gonna work. No, that's gonna work. No. That's what McVay needs. Because think about Sean McVay's upbringing. He was on that staff on Mike Shanahan in Washington that had every frickin' body that's now a head coach in the NFL. And they were like really like back and forth. McDaniel's on that staff as well. Kyle Shanahan. It was like all this back and forth. And like he needs that. Jared Goff is not that kind of personality. So you stick him with Ben Johnson, who was like, all right, this is what we're gonna do, and you're gonna crush it. And he goes out there and he dominates. And you throw in the skill position players that they have. We're not like Amon-Ra St. Brown is the dude.
Their roster.
But Jameson Williams hasn't even like reached close to his potential yet because he was hurt. Then he got a gambling suspension. He played like what, 5 games last year. Like they have so much talent. Their tight end is fantastic. They got 2 running backs. Like Laporta, yeah, they got so much talent on that team. And they spent this offseason in the draft and in free agency securing the secondary. So like they had the luxury of having good talent, but also the ability to stack themselves at their weaknesses. So I'm a believer in the Detroit Lions.
Their biggest challenge in that division will likely be the Green Bay Packers. I'm a Jordan Love dude. I'm a LaFleur guy. I think they are ready to be the best team in the NFC. Lions are going to be in that conversation.
Not San Francisco.
I wonder about the Super Bowl loss hangover that historically kills everybody. The Patriots overcame it, but that was the first time since the 71-72 Dolphins that you lose the Super Bowl and come back to win it. So I worry about the Niners in that way. I think the Packers, though, are just so good, and I love Jordan Love. But
They got a great receiving core.
the question is, can Jordan Love follow up what he did last year now that the expectations are on him? So do you think that grinds him back down to earth, or do you think he takes it and ascends with it?
No,
Small school guy.
Yeah, he's a small school guy, but when you have that type of success sometimes breeds confidence. And I think when you go into the season with confidence, which he should have, and as he just mentioned, that receiving core that they have, so you have confidence, you have talent, I don't see a drop-off with Jordan Love.
Yeah, I don't either. I think Jordan Love learned a lot from Aaron Rodgers. I think LaFleur is one of the great minds. Also on that Kyle Shanahan staff, that Mike Shanahan staff that I was talking about in Washington. And they have a receiving group that is dynamic and fast and going to be one of the best in the league.
And a running game to pair with
A running
it.
game and a tight end. And it's like I don't know about their defense because I haven't done enough work on their defense. But offensively, I feel like they can outscore anybody. And so I love where they are. With that being said, I think that the Detroit Lions have the edge in the division, but maybe only by a game. It's gonna be a tough division.
Tell me where that game's at. Like if they meet in the championship game and it's at Lambeau, or if it's indoors in Detroit, that's a massive
That's a great
difference.
point, Andrew.
Could you imagine that NFC Championship game, Green Bay, Detroit, two rivals? Oh my
That'd be
God.
awesome.
That would be incredible.
But I agree with Dante. I'm not giving up on San Francisco.
Okay.
I
Niners
think,
got it.
I think that they're still going to be really good. I don't buy the hangover. I think they're going to be right there.
Yeah, I don't think Kyle cares. I don't think he doesn't let it bother him.
Well, he's an amazing head coach. However, we now have a track record, a resume of failures in fourth quarters in massive games, specifically 2 Super Bowls in overtime this past year. And I think Shanahan's one of the best 3 coaches in the league. But
DA, think about that Super Bowl, dude. This, like, Jennings threw it. What was his name? No, not Jawan.
yeah, Jawan Jennings.
Jawan Jennings threw a touchdown. Think of the play call, right?
I think Shanahan's
Like,
brilliant, but I don't know why he's losing leads in Super Bowls.
You mentioned it earlier. They got that one guy on the other end, 1-5. Patrick Mahomes, who's a Hall of Famer already. That has a lot to do with it.
I'm not going to relitigate the Super Bowl decision, but he did decide in overtime, and that's a questionable
That was
decision.
very questionable. And the fact that his players didn't know and understand the overtime rule. That is a knock. That is a knock.
I think he's a great head coach, but I don't know if I can trust him in that spot.
Well, until
again.
you're right. Until he does it, you can't.
But listen to what you're saying. In the Super Bowl is when you can trust him.
Yes.
Twice.
That's totally right.
So, I mean, at the end of the day, I'm going to go with the guy that has gotten his team there. He's going to learn from those mistakes, those decisions, and be better.
But I wonder
for as a
why.
Jordan Love and a Green Bay that's trying to get to where Shanahan has been twice in the last 3 years.
Man, it's 60 years of Super Bowls,
True, but
and teams don't lose them and then come back to win.
Back up to the San Francisco Super Bowl. The Atlanta Super Bowl against the Patriots. Like, I went back and watched that only because.
That's torturous.
Only because.
Well, I guess if you're a Patriots fan, it's great.
Only because we happened to be working with Matt Ryan. And so I went and watched those plays, like those decisions that he made. And I love Matt. You cannot take a sack. You cannot take the sack.
Everything about that Super Bowl, I can't believe we're talking about this, but everything about that is mind-blowing. If you just watch the play calling and you watch the decision making, you go, if they just did
Just run the ball.
one other thing,
right.
it can't happen.
Right.
One other thing out of the 50 plays in the second half. And everything they did was wrong.
Everything went wrong. It wasn't wrong, it went wrong.
Well, they also called improper plays. They also took sacks.
Again, where was that at? In the Super Bowl.
Agreed. No, I'm not going to kill.
Against the greatest quarterback of all time.
And arguably the greatest coach of all time.
That one just kills me, though, because it's a game where the Falcons had it won. It's a franchise that's never won a Super Bowl. They have a 28-3 lead, and all you have to do is one of 50 plays you just have to get right. And they go 0 for 50.
It's so hard, but it's so hard.
Really?
You're exaggerating, but it's so hard.
It's 0 for 10.
But it's so-
There's 10 decision-making plays there.
10 moments.
10 moments. There's the two-point conversion.
You normally
they have
get
to
2 or
give
3
up.
moments.
There's the sacks they have to give up. There's the turnovers they have to give up. They have to do everything wrong. If they go 1 for 10, they win a Super Bowl.
No, you're right. You're right. You're not wrong.
So anyway,
But it's hard to change your personality.
So you watched
now
it,
the
and your
now,
takeaway
now,
was?
now the reality is, to win a Super Bowl, it's about being unconventional. Think about Sean Payton. I'm going to come out in the second half and an onside kick.
Which
And
you
now
can't
Andy
do
Reid.
anymore.
Which you can't do anymore. Right, but like, you have to be outside of yourself sometimes, and maybe Kyle hasn't quite got that yet.
But I do think those are the 3 teams. Green Bay, Detroit, San Francisco.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Agreed. We're not putting Philly in that conversation.
Nah.
There's too many questions right now. And look, they have a talented roster. There's no doubt about it, especially offensively. The skill position players are amazing. In fact, I think, and I said this today on my radio show, Jalen Hurts should have won the MVP on a losing team. He had one bad play in that game.
Yep.
One bad play.
He was incredible.
But it cost him the game.
Yep. Absolutely right. That's going to put a capper on this. This is an evening of football with these three guys. I could not be more grateful that they all came together to do this with us, and hopefully you guys enjoyed it as well. Santo, thanks so much for being the sponsor here. We all enjoyed it quite very much tonight. It was excellent. Andrew Catalon, catch him weekly on NFL on CBS Games every Sunday alongside Tiki Barber as well. They're calling games. And Jason McCourty with you guys in the booth this year.
Oh, that's my guy.
Yeah, McCourty's in the booth now that Matt Ryan's moved to the studio. And you can catch them every single Sunday all across the NFL. Also listen to, of course, Tiki Barber on WFAN in New York, Afternoon Drive. Dante Hall, one of my good friends. He is all over NFL Network. You guys do Good Morning Football quite a bit, which is always awesome to see
those
you.
are my people over there.
And it is awesome to see you as well, man. And from the bottom of my heart, I know I thank you guys so much, but also the crew here. This means a lot to everybody here that you guys came out to do this. And an evening of football ends under the lights with a group of bottles of tequila in front of us. It's cigars that were fully smoked. So I think we did it right here, guys.
Yes, we did. Yes, we did. Enjoyed it.
Thank you, DA.
You got it, man. My pleasure. Thanks so much. An evening of football presented by Santo Blanco. Thanks so much for watching, everybody. Remember to subscribe to the channel right here, and throughout the football season, every single Sunday, you'll get recaps of all the games before we go to Sunday Night Football, and during the week, full DA deep dives as well. We'll see you next time, everybody. Thanks so much for watching.